journey over the past couple of years. Now you've had a taste. How did you feel out there?
Yeah, it was unbelievable. I suppose it's. I suppose even now, sitting down, it's. I've probably been reflecting on it the last couple of days, and it has been, as you said, quite a journey over the last couple of years. But I suppose now is just the start of another journey in terms of being able to forge a career and hopefully a successful career.
Just during that time there, what went through your mind through injuries and all those sorts of things, waiting to get to that game?
Yeah, it was definitely sort of an up and down path. Like there was periods where I thought I probably wasn't ever going to get a game or wasn't good enough to get a game. Both just physically and psychologically, I suppose. Just having the, mental fortitude to be able to get my body right and be able to play games. But now that I've been able to sort of get a successful pre-season under my belt, which was what I was probably struggling with the first couple of years, and play through the NAB Cup and play successfully through that, and also have good SNFL form, and finally, I suppose, be rewarded with the game. I feel a lot more comfortable and a lot more confident in myself to be able to play at that level.
Has it made you hungrier, having to go through all that stuff?
I think so, yeah. Having spoken to a few of the other boys, there's been many other players, I suppose, as well, that have gone through very similar scenarios to myself, having sort of issues with their body going through the first couple of years, just because it's obviously a huge change from being an 18-year-old in terms of developing. But yeah, no, it certainly does, I think, sort of make you hungry. It gives you, I suppose, a goal. While that goal of playing a game was probably far off for myself at some points, but I suppose having other smaller steps in terms of playing SNFL and going from there, certainly, yeah, I suppose gave me a drive to want to play.
How did you find the pace of the game, given, I guess, it was GWS and perhaps the conditions as well? It probably could go up another notch.
Yeah, no, certainly. It probably, obviously, because I played through the NAB Cup as well, I was adjusted to the speed to some extent, although it's probably hasn't got the same intensity of a home and away match. But yeah, probably the speed there wasn't as high, and that probably reflected a little bit in our GPS results as well. But yeah, as you said, there's probably more so the fact that we're playing an inexperienced side that did throw sort of numbers behind the ball, and given the conditions as well were quite dreary. So it, I suppose, forced a lot of the contested side of it and a lot sort of playing up and down the line, and not so much sort of breaking through the lines.
So you can expect a bit more heat this week, given it's a showdown?
You'd assume so.
How are you assuming you retain your place? You're looking forward to playing in such a big game?
Yeah, not too sure in terms of selection. There's certainly some guys in the SNFL pushing for selection as well, but I'm certainly hoping to play. But yeah, no, that'd be a fantastic game to, I suppose, play your second game in a showdown. And obviously, there's always such hype around in South Australia regarding a showdown, and the teams definitely go out there for a win and really crash in hard. So it's it'll be fantastic to play in such a game and hopefully get all the fans to come along to it as well and make it a really good atmosphere.
What about a guy like Jared Lyons? You've obviously played a bit of footy with him at Glenelg. Do you think he'd be right to come in and step in such a big game, make his debut?
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, you've obviously seen Jared's form over the last month. It's just been fantastic down at Glenelg, and obviously because I've been playing down there as well, I've sort of seen it firsthand. So having seen him playing very capably at SNFL level, I've no doubt that he'd be able to step up to the level and play at AFL, and certainly deserves a chance. But I suppose because we have had a couple of injuries and that's such, and there's obviously concerns about with the players coming in from the SNFL, but we've sort of been arguing that we have such great depth at the moment, so I suppose that's a chance for us to show that.
For Crows fans who haven't seen him play, what would he bring to the table?
Certainly a fair bit of inside work as well as a lot of outside work as well. He's a real sort of in and under midfielder. He's been sort of dominating the clearances down at Glenelg lately, so I suppose you'd probably expect a fair bit of that as well. Playing for Adelaide would probably be in the midfield and in and amongst it.
As you say, over the journey, perhaps question whether or not you were good enough or whether your body would hold up. How do you overcome the psychological barrier to break through?
Well, fortunately, I've got a really fantastic support team, both at the club here in terms of the friends and staff, as well as my family. My family have been fantastic. Although they live in Melbourne, they do come over quite regularly, and I have great contact with them, as well as a couple of other people back in Melbourne. But yeah, if I didn't have them, there's no chance that I would have even survived a year probably through it, to be honest. Just having that support both here and outside the club's been fantastic for me.
After the pre-season that you guys have had, the focus on physicality of the game and trying to get a bit tougher, have Sanderson questioned perhaps your intent in terms of tackling against the Giants and then the week before against Hawthorn? How disappointing is that?
It is a little disappointing. Just well, I suppose there's both positives and negatives towards it. I mean, we haven't won the tackle count for the last 3 games, actually, and that's probably the disappointing fact that we haven't been able to say we've lost one week, we haven't been able to back it up the next week and win the tackle count. So, and that, as you said, has been a focus throughout the pre-season, but I suppose the positive of that has been that we've won the contested possessions throughout all 4 rounds. So Looking at that, we're obviously getting the first possession, but yeah, as you said, the tackle count and being able to, I suppose the intent of it within the players is something that we've been looking at through the last couple of weeks, and it was something that we'll need to address, especially going into this weekend.
Porter in a similar boat to you guys in that respect. How fierce a battle are you actually expecting?
I assume it'd be fairly fierce, having looked at especially the last couple of showdowns as not just, I suppose, sort of melees and that sort of thing, but no, certainly there's a fierce desire, I suppose, on the contested ball, and that seems to be the norm for every team, I suppose, but it always seems to step up a notch with a showdown.
So far, every team that's played GWS has managed to win the next week after. You'd be hoping that trend continues this week?
Yeah, certainly. I suppose sometimes you could argue that perhaps it was an easy week, but it's certainly not the case. I mean, GWS certainly came to play last weekend, and we were definitely given a tough game. So I suppose that will hopefully keep us informed going into this weekend.
So no concerns that it's, I guess, what could be perceived as a soft lead compared to Port Adelaide, which has played in the cauldron against Collingwood?
No, certainly not. I mean, GWS in terms of their contested ball stuff as well was up really top notch, and while they are inexperienced and they've got a lot of young kids, they're certainly not shirking the contest to any extent, and they're definitely going in it very hard. So it's I suppose a good lead up into this weekend.
It was only the Giants on the weekend, but when they came to you in that second quarter, there was actually a fair bit on the line in terms of no one wants to be the first team to lose to a new side. How impressed were you with the side to be able to then in the second half hold firm?
Yeah, no, like we re-evaluated that at half time. Just in fact that we probably had a bit of a poor quarter and a few of our KPIs were down. But I suppose our endeavour to turn that around in the second half was I suppose one positive out of it. Which was something I suppose in the past that we'd probably been criticised for, that once other teams had got a run on us that we probably went in our shells a little bit. So I suppose going forward from there though is the fact that hopefully we can do that within a quarter rather than wait till say half time to readdress it.
Have you been monitoring how Callan and Petrenko are pulling up for a chance to play this week?
Not myself personally, to be honest, but they'll be training on Thursday on our main training session, and hopefully they get through that and they'll be right to play.
In fact, they're out there today, probably good indicator that they're in the mix.
I would think so, yeah. No.
What about Stiffy? Obviously, he did a little bit more today. You're pretty confident he'll come back?
I think so, yeah. He's moving on pretty well at the moment. So, like I said with the other two as well, it's just an indication of whether he gets through training throughout the week as to whether he'll be right to go.
What does it mean for the side if you were able to get all three back?
That would be fantastic in terms of having their experience, and obviously with Graham as well. He's obviously played in plenty of showdowns before, so to have that sort of level head down back, especially for someone like myself, would be much appreciated.
Has Sando talked about ensuring that you win his first showdown?
He hasn't said anything like that yet, actually, but he may. I'm not too sure, to be honest. But I suppose with any game, like you're certainly going out there to win. It doesn't change with a showdown or with any other sort of home and away match. But and I will certainly be going out there to win it at all costs.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys. No problem.